What's going on, average guys, average girls? I'm about to start calling this the average channel. So I've got guys and girls, kind of a mixed audience of the maybe 11 subscribers I've got. If you subscribed, liked, and shared, at this time, I'd like to thank you. I appreciate it, man. I believe my message is a message that people can appreciate and possibly resonate with. So please like, subscribe, share, and drop comments in the comment section. It's all appreciated, man. Let me know what y'all want to talk about. So I was gonna do, I'm working on the series still for my supplement, and the ones I recommend and the ones I use personally, and not really that I'm recommending them. And I was gonna do the episode on tribulus terrestris today. However, I believe there's a more pressing topic that I'd like to discuss today, and that is toxicity. Fellas, ladies, I'm gonna talk to both sexes in the audience at this time, but more particularly the men. Sometimes, fellas, you're gonna find that you have to remove an individual, whether this be a man or a woman, from your life. They might be your mother, your father, your sisters, your cousins, your homeboys from college, your homeboys from high school. Any of these individuals that are not contributing to your well-being and to the betterment of your family and to your objective must be eliminated. And don't feel bad when you do. I spent a lot of years feeling guilty and not removing these people from my life. As I mentioned, that is toxic. A lot of times, a lot of situations, including when you're dealing with a substance abuse issue, you know that things are poison in your body, yet you're dependent on them. You have to ask yourself, why? Why are you dependent on them? Maybe you grew up with them. Maybe they raised you, right? Now, those individuals at that point are an addiction to you. You can't see or view life without them. Just like a chemical. What you have is a mental addiction to these individuals. Yet these people have continually harmed you in some regard, some form of fashion. Sometimes, fellas, during those times, I'm not gonna say sometimes, during those times, you're gonna have to cut them off. And don't feel bad about it. They wouldn't feel bad about if they had to cut you off. People don't really feel guilt when they are I don't want to use narcissistic, because I think that word is overused at this time. But what I will say is, those individuals, people like that, they wouldn't feel bad if they had to turn you loose, push you to the side. Matter of fact, the very fact that you feel like you have to push them aside at this time is because they've continually put their values and their beliefs and their benefit, their prosperity ahead of yours. Their desires came first, and so you crop them out. And then in the future, what you'll find is these individuals, even though you've left them, you might have blocked them, you might have removed them from your social media. All forms of contact have been restricted because they haven't followed your command, for lack of a better word at this time, to leave them alone, to leave you alone and give you space. So you decided, okay, well, I'm gonna put blocks. I mean, that's what these devices are built for. Blocking all the unnecessary noise from your life because you've determined that that's poison. At this time, that's what's going on in my life. See, there are people that I've had to remove from my life that now want to return in different forms of fashion. They might leave a comment in my YouTube section. And at this time, I'd like to tell these individuals, whoever they may be, that is disingenuous, or at least I determined it to be, and that you should refrain from doing so in the future. Now, I don't use names when I talk on my channel. I try not to do that even if I'm saying something positive about somebody. The only individual that I've spoken positively about, perhaps, I'm not gonna go there. I try not to use people's names. Reason being because there's been trauma, things I've dealt with in my life. There's been people I've had to cut out of my life, and it was hard. It's very hard for me to do, and it took much consideration and much pain. Spending too much time in that situation, just like what I'm telling you fellas to Well, everyone cuts poison out of their life in their own time. But I spent what I consider too much time in those situations, and I've removed myself. I don't use names when I say negative things about people that I've dealt with in my past. But if you want to make yourself present, I will. I'll speak about exactly what has happened in my life. See, fellas, what I want you guys to know is that you don't become a guy like me without one of two things. Either direct guidance from someone above you, which I've had somewhat, or a trauma response. See, a guy like me who's motivated, driven, ambitious, won't take no for an answer, gets out there and hustles. Guy that feels like he's got to get it on his own, really gets out there and hustles for it. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain behind that. And that pain motivates you, but it's not necessarily desirable. As my wife put it, there are much more healthy ways to, I guess, extract pain from the world. The world's gonna beat you down. That doesn't mean you have to take that from the people in your inner circle. The very people that you are, or would be, willing to protect in a situation where they find themselves alone, afraid, those very people, they owe you something, fellas. I'm talking to the men at this point, yeah. Fellas, they owe you something. If you are going to provide any sort of provision to any woman, again, this could be people you know from your past. These could be friends. These could be, but specifically, you're more inclined, fellas, to your mother, your sister, your cousins, grandparents, for instance. Okay? These people owe you respect. Because when you get it all together and you've got everything lined up, who else would they fall on? What happens to an old lady once her husband perishes and she's got sons? The sons would then take over the responsibility of the father, I would assume, or at least help in provisioning so that person's taken care of. You think that woman doesn't owe you respect? You think that woman is not supposed to submit to your authority? And when I say that, what I really mean is in a situation where you're asking for something like, put it like this, I hear a lot of women trying to tell men how they're gonna love them. Fellas, you determine how other people love you. I'm gonna say that again, fellas. You determine how other people love you. Men included. But right now I'm speaking specifically about, in regard to a female, you determine how people love you. That's how my marriage has worked. That's how we've come to this point. See, my wife found out that I'm gonna just love him how he wants to be loved. My wife don't buy me flowers. I don't want that. My wife loves me how I want to be loved. And at times she falls short. But not all the time. But not every time. But not most times. I wouldn't even say, I would say sometimes, but that would be an overstatement. But I'll give you sometimes. And we're all human. But for the ones that I personally have had to remove from my frame, from my box, from my inner circle, it's been all the time, every time. And these people know who they are. Again, I'm not gonna say names. I don't deal like that. But I'm gonna say this. This is my place where I come to express my emotions and express my feelings. I'm seldom emotional, so I use the wrong word. But I put forth my ideas, my thoughts about the world on this podcast. And I do it in a way that won't harm other people. Because that's what kind of guy I've always been. I do things in a way that won't directly affect other people. At least I try to. And that's my objective here. But what you will not do, and I mean this as a warning, so pay attention. What you will not do is enter into this space or any of my personal spaces without my permission. You won't come on here trying to pretend like you've been supportive throughout all my years. And you will not play the supportive whatever you may be in my life. You will not pretend here on this podcast. If that type of behavior does continue, then I will further expose the bullshit. That's all I ask. If the shoe was on the other foot and I was a male harassing that's what it is. My wife mentioned it today. Harassment. It's harassment. If the shoe was on the other foot and a young man was doing this, or a man at any age was doing this to a woman, calling his phone when he says don't, texting him, enter into his personal space online, social media. What else do you call that? Decent man like me would never press any type of charges. I don't feel threatened at all. But what is being threatened is my peace of mind. And fellas, again, you don't have to take that. See, we've sat quiet for years. I know I've done it. And I know you guys are doing that same thing. Fellas, we've been quiet for years. While women treat us how they want to treat us, they do whatever the fuck they want to do to you. And you supposed to put up with that shit. That's why Kevin Samuels blew up. Y'all want to know why Kevin Samuels blew up? That's why Kevin blew up. That right there. Men are tired. And Kevin was saying something that we all wanted to say. Who the fuck you think you talking to? We tired. We're done. Fellas, ladies included, because if you're dealing with a man that enters into you don't have to. We're all people. We live in the United States of America, the freest nation on the planet. You don't have to put up with any bullshit from any human being that you don't want to. Fellas, you remove yourself from that situation, because these people will have you throwing water bottles at the wall. These people have you in your house breaking your shit. Mad as hell. These people have you stepping out of your frame. Before it gets that far, get the fuck out. Let these people be. Cut them loose. And watch them squirm. And I don't want to see anybody hurt. That's what's funny. But I'd rather see you squirm than me. Sorry. Human nature. You didn't mind watching me flounder on the ground like a fish out of water. Some of these people, guys, didn't mind seeing my marriage fall apart. They applauded it. Some of these people are responsible for some of these people are partially responsible for one of the stupidest decisions I'd ever made in my life, causing me to hurt my wife. Newlyweds. About 7 years ago, just before my son was born. About 8 years ago now. Almost had me ruin the rest of my damn life. As happy as y'all see me right now, these people would have seen all of that destroyed. You cannot allow folks to do that to you. See, fellas, one thing that the world is trying to take away from us at this time, what they're trying to do is remove logic from the equation. As if we can't tell. As if we can't tell the world what we want. I haven't talked to some of these people for the better part of a decade on any regular basis. There's been encounters. But I try to remove myself as best I can. And in some shape or form, they always wind up in my inbox, under a comment. How about this? How about this? If I'm ever, and this means saying this, how you guys should function as well. If I'm ever, I'm speaking to people who have fucked up in their life with a person that they care about at this time. Check this out. If that person ever gives you the courtesy of allowing you to return into their frame, inside their sphere of influence, inside of their circle, I guess. God damn, I'm using all the wrong words. I'm pissed off, y'all, if y'all can't tell. If somebody allows you back into their circle, do your best to not fuck it up. I'm going to tell you what you can do. Remember, you can remember this podcast right here. What I said right here. What y'all can remember, if you've ever messed up with anybody you care about, when they give you the chance, you ask them how you failed them and how you can make it better. And either you do what they ask or you don't. I had to have one of the most uncomfortable conversations about 2-3 weeks ago where somebody asked me, how can I get back in your graces? I told them specifically and they declined. They declined to do the thing that I told them would. Now, whatever they consider, for whatever reason, doesn't matter. They decided they wouldn't. And at the end of the day, I said, well, I cannot at this time give you what you want. I can't do it. I won't do it. It just is what that is. And it's tough. It was a hard conversation to have. Had another conversation with someone else, something very similar. Why don't you ever come around no more? I always make some dumbass excuse like I'm out here hustling. It ain't that. I could make time. Make time for people who I care. I make time for the people I want to make time for. I could make time. But just like some of these people have never come out of, I live in Texas. I'm born and raised in Alabama. Just like some of these people have never come when I lived in the Carolinas. Why should I? I'm too busy. I got shit going on. You didn't prioritize my person. You didn't prioritize my family. You didn't prioritize my desires. And you're getting it back now. I'm sorry. And again, fellas, this is how you should move. This is what you all should be saying, guys. You don't have to take this shit. You don't have to take this bullshit that the world's feeding you. All this wokeism and feminism, you had to bullshit. You had to take a fucking second of that shit, man. You don't. And I didn't know that. I almost made decisions based on, and this is, if y'all ever hear me ever consider myself, if you ever hear me talk about me simping, that's what I'm talking about. I was the type of guy that would have sat there and took that fucking shit, man. And I did. And I did. Long after my first son was born. Now, it wasn't long. Excuse me. About 5 years ago, I put my foot down. It was after I started driving trucks. After I moved out of Alabama. About 5.5, 6 years ago. And I said, I'm done with this. Fuck this. This is done. It's over. I'm out. Y'all gonna move how I want you to move. Or we ain't moving together at all. Yep. And if you can't tell, it's hard on me. If you can't tell, it was hard on me to make those plays. But they were necessary. Because they were tearing a hole in my relationship with my wife. Those relationships. They were ruining my projected future. I know this is a bit of a long episode. I'm pretty much on here ranting. So I appreciate y'all for watching, man. And if you know somebody that needs to hear this type of message, man, like, subscribe, share, you know. I try not to really harp on these types of things too hard. The podcast started because I became impassioned after finding out about Kevin Samuels. After having one of those tough conversations with someone, I felt like maybe I had gone too far, right? Maybe and this individual was a female. So about 3 years ago, I had a really negative interaction. Yeah, there was yelling involved. I threw a water bottle. Right, not at the person, but. And I got really upset. And I stopped speaking to that individual. And I started to try to figure out. So I typed on YouTube. What did I type? It might have been YouTube. It was on Safari. I just randomly searched it on Google, and I was like, shit. relationships between men and women. You know what I'm saying? And the first thing that came up was a one of the guys is an Islamic preacher. I don't know what you call those guys. I forget, but I listened to him, and then underneath that was Kevin Samuels. Right? I'm glad I got introduced to that brother there. And I found out about Kevin Samuels. I started listening to him. And then I started listening because he was doing call-ins with women at the time, right? He had done the men thing for like 3 years, but I didn't know him then. Then I come in and he's just hitting, he's calling these women are calling in and saying the most egregious and outright dumbass shit, calling into his show, right? And I'm just watching it. And I mean hours upon hours I've watched this brother have conversations, and they've gone very good and sometimes very fucking bad. And I thought to myself, damn, the brother looks exactly like what I want to become. He speaks exactly like I want to speak. He shares a lot of the same views. The women calling in, these women have had interactions with men, and they're talking about it on the show. Of course, Kevin at that time is defending the man's position to some degree, always, because if a woman's, and normally it's in a sexual relationship, a sexual context, where a woman's calling in, she's mad at her baby daddy or something like that. But ma'am, you chose him. But that it really showed me the contempt that most women, especially as it pertains to my community, the black community, has for their own men. Call in. All I ever get. Men ain't this, men ain't that. And yeah, I've been treated that same exact way. And you know what they say to me? Who hurt you? That's what come out their mouth. Who hurt you? Well, I got news for you, ladies. Y'all did. It was y'all. Y'all did that. But I'm still here. A lot of us don't make it. They turn to the bottle. They start smoking themselves to sleep. Permanent sleep. They might induce permanent sleep on themselves. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, well, I was taught how to deal with these situations. I get out here and I get back down, I hit these weights. I get behind this wheel. I do what a man's supposed to do. That body, see, fellas, when you work out, that body gonna help that mind. See, when you work out, you get all the proper balance of chemicals hit that brain. And then you think to yourself, you a hero. And fellas, you are. You a hero to somebody. Yeah. If folks from your past won't love you, somebody will. You produce your outcome. There's a lot of single brothers out here, and I don't know if these guys, I haven't reached them yet, I'm sure. 11 subscribers, I appreciate y'all. I don't know who y'all are. Leave a comment. Tell me things y'all want to talk about, please. But you choose your future. You drive your truck. I got a tattoo on, you can't see it. Drive, baby. You steer. You drive your truck. They say Jesus you drive your truck. You get that shit safely down the highway. And anybody wants to jump on board and ride with you, bring it on, baby. You steer your truck. You drive your truck, fellas. And watch them, because they gonna come fizzling back. Then they want to be a part of your shit. No, you didn't help me. Ooh, what do I always say, Amber? What the little red hen say? Drop it in the comment, mama. You know what she say. Oh no, excuse me. What did the cat say? That's what the cat I always quote the cat. What did they say to me? Not I, said the cat. Would you help me build this pie? Not I, said the cat. Would you help me put it in the oven? Not I, said the dog. They said not I. And now that I done made my pie, I'ma eat that bitch. Y'all be easy, man. Hey, remove toxicity. Be on the lookout for my next episode. I'm gonna drop. Unless something else comes up, I'm gonna drop the episode about the tribulus terrestris and other herbs I take. I'm thinking about doing that fenugreek. So yeah, y'all be easy. Appreciate y'all, man. To be real, y'all are my place of zen. Y'all are my family. And I'm gonna keep speaking to y'all. Y'all be easy.